to defending themselves. So if you say this was a planned event, they call you a conspiracy theorist and then attack you. Many attack you, many against few or one, like spoiled children that don't get their way, saying, no, you're evil. It was no conspiracy. And then you'll be like, okay, well then let's look behind this curtain. Oh no, you can't look behind a curtain. As they tell somebody else, burn all the papers. And eventually, when you look behind a curtain, there's nothing there, or everything's redacted. But not when you say, okay, well, let's check here. That's why some people, or some law enforcement would try to surprise with warrants, not giving people this time to do such things. But if you have people that's already in law enforcement or has law enforcement ties, it makes it difficult, because they're the higher echelons of life of these people that are willing or have the ability to bribe legal departments all the way up to judges, following the chain of greed and this negative structure, which is from the poor to the rich, all following this form of greed, lust, and deception. If a negative person is evil and wants you to be evil, then that person or a group of people have negative conditioning themselves, but yet they may behave in a pro-procedure. Therefore, outwardly, they are on the same page, but inwardly, they are afraid to be themselves. So everything is structured for movement in our society. But there are some people that are deliberately moving in a negative direction, while others are flowing in the same water, but do not have the same outcome or the same direction, which creates balance, which is good. Without balance in this world, everybody just starts being ignorant and then following a life like the road warrior, in which is every person for themselves. We wouldn't have any society, and we can all die in hemorrhage from our own ignorance. And therefore, when you lose sight of the positive structure, what you have left is a negative structure, in which even having children will be a bad move, because they're just going to be brought into this world to hurt or be hurt, and not follow a structure in which we can all benefit from. We can all go out, and our energy permeates this air, and as we inhale and exhale, all our energy, it seeps in through our animals, it seeps in through our caring for this planet. So all is relevant, like the web, the chain, the web of life. It's like one thing is relevant to the other, is relevant to the other. So if we continue on a path that's self-destructive, the end conclusion is death for all, as opposing to enlightenment for all, which is an entirely different structure. And again, everything on this planet is based on the structure, whether it's animals and it's us, or our logic and understanding and reasoning. So these negative procedures, they continue with these negative people. Again, some people know they're negative, but other people are just clueless. So I offer great leniency to a lot of people. At least I do. Some people are ready to condemn you. Oh, you're going to hell? No. First of all, no man has the power to send you to hell. No man. As much as he say, oh, you're going to hell, and you don't fight that person. The minute that flies out of their mouth, their ignorance. You can say this behavior follows and not all the behaviors they say. So technically, that's their belief, unless they're structured in such a way where the human instruction, you'll see how it's all reveals itself. But to the bare minimum, unless you taught that person to say such things is ignorance, because you don't know how much they know and they truly understand. For people die for the lack of knowledge. So they divide and conquer, and people have these prejudices and don't know why. Just because somebody else said it, in other words, their parents had taught them or whatever, and they're just regurgitating ignorance that was before them. So these negative people are taught that if somebody argues with you, you argue with them. If they become insultive, you become insultive. If they try to fight you, well, you destroy them or you hurt them or you kill them. Which some people feel bad about, because I heard this one Kung Fu master, he was like, he didn't even mean to hurt the guy. The guys just started coming up on him, and he said had he known that he was going to kill the guy, he would have just slapped him around a bit or just slapped him, but he felt bad that he had used a closed hand, because these people were like rabid dogs. Sometimes to kill them is like ignorance, because they don't know any better. Somewhere along the line, maybe, they just need to get slapped around a bit to wake them up, to say, hey, this is not cool. But to kill them just because a person's angry and try to attack you, you don't want to kill them automatically because you had just become negative, because you had given this person more than he has given you. In other words, the penalty should always not exceed the crime. A person agitating you doesn't deserve the death penalty. So people are taught this. So instead of arguing, they argue, you don't argue. Let them do all the talking. Just stand there, put your fingers in your ear if they're loud, because that's really annoying. They're right next to you and they're yelling at you. I usually carry earplugs, or I may have like a stereo headset. If they start yelling, I just put that on, and I keep a certain distance away from them. If they start charging me, then I try to offer another step, or I turn around, or I move around, or behind another certain object, because you got to be careful with some of those people who try to hit you if they get too close to you. So you keep a certain distance, or you attempt to anyway. You can usually read the language with the body and with the energy. And we'll go deeper into the senses about a little later, your senses. So instead of being hateful and just continue to escalate, you de-escalate. Don't give them hate, give them love. Always love is your motive. Whatever your outward action, the motive, your source inside of you should always be at peace and calm. So you be peaceful and patient and graceful, and be forgiving as a way to respond to such ignorance. Being civil, or take a civil stand. Again, you don't run, you don't kowtow, you stand firm, you stay strong. But you are not ignorant of such actions. And again, little by little, you'll start realizing how to get them to see the light. And even if they don't, eventually they'll start to see something. They'll start to figure it out. But this is what this process is a part of the awakening. And many people also like to, when they argue, they'll falsely accuse you of all these things. They'll even call the police right in front of your face and say, this guy's hitting me. They say you're punching him in the face, and you're not even 12 feet of this guy. It was like, oh, I need backup. This guy's punching me in the face, or he's hitting me. The guy's lying. You're looking right at him, and it's like, what? Is this guy's for real? And so these cops come in. Usually some people will realize, well, this guy's lying. But technically, they should arrest that guy, but they don't. And they do that a lot. Or neighbors will call and say, well, you're abusing this person, and you're doing no such thing. But yet they would let that go, and yet harass and harangue you, and you have done nothing wrong. It's okay to come in and to investigate, but if you find truly that there's a problem, they should immediately go back to that person who's doing that, and say, hey, tell me exactly how you got this reason to call and how you made this assumption, and at least warn them, hey, if this continues to be a problem with you, we're going to arrest you because we find no fault in this guy. But it needs to be a good investigation and finding out who's making these calls and is it a pattern. And arguing, they'll bring up a lot of false accusations, and they'll be regurgitating all these things to make you out to be a monster. And they're quick to interrupt you and overtake you as you speak to protect yourself or defend yourself, to say, that's a lie, that's a lie. But they don't want you to keep making points, so they would become aggressive. Especially if you're quiet, and as they're giving these false accusations, like not one or two, they'll just throw on these false accusations. They'll start piling them up like a list of charges, and they're all false. And so you write them down. You say, "Oh, well, that's a lie." But you're not interrupting the person. You're letting them talk. You're just making a note as to all the false accusations that they're making. So the second they see you're writing notes, that's going to really piss them off, because you're keeping track of every wrong word they're saying or every false accusation they're saying, which means that now when it's your turn to talk, you're going to make them look ridiculous. So they're going to stop you from writing it or try to stop you from recording it, because they don't want the truth, because the truth is going to set you free and it's going to condemn them. So they would try to create more of an argument and try and distract you from writing it and distract you from even saying something. So they don't want to get interrupted, but if you but they want to interrupt you. Again, it's hypocrisy is how it works. There's they use attrition. Attrition is the act or process of gradually reducing the strength or an effectiveness of someone or something through a systemic or sustaining attack or pressure over time. So they'll want you to exhaust yourself. That's why you don't fight or flight. Because if you always stay calm, the more they try to attack you, they're attacking themselves, because you're doing a rope-a-dope, meaning negative energy is always excessive when attacking, as opposed to be like they take a break, which then becomes there's no war of attrition, because you are following a certain procedure in which is not defeated, because you're not allowing them to make you like them. So therefore, their strategy is not going to work. And then there's sardonic, and that's like grimly mocking you over time, being cynical, and get you to become self-defeating through sarcasm and destructive negative opinions about yourself, and you'll have all these self-defeating thoughts about yourself because they're being sardonic over time. And there's a stoic, which is what you want to be, one who can remain calm even if you endure pain without these overall feelings of complaining. And that's what sometimes they'll do, is that they'll keep complaining around you, hoping you'll pick up the rhythm. It's like someone sitting next to you and whistling or humming or singing a song, and then they leave, and when they leave, you're still whistling and humming or singing the song they were singing. So you'll follow that same negative thought when people try to permeate negative air by being negative around you. I mean, if that's the problem, then of course, you don't have to follow that negative form of thought or words. You can put earplugs on, you can change your seating, but know that that's what they're doing. And if you want, you can just start saying a positive poem, out loud, And they'll be like, who you're talking to? It's like, I'm talking to myself because, that's all you got to say. You don't even got to say that. You just keep doing that, just positive words as opposed to their negative words, because they're talking to one another, actually conditioning negative words in order for you to think and feel as they do. And but that's not your bag. That's not how you get down. That's not how you perceive. But they want to project it without you saying anything, because then other people start to pick up on that as well. It permeates the air around the others, and they'll see what's going on. Then there's cynical people who are purely motivated by these self-interests. These people are distrustful of sincerity and integrity. Of course, they're hypocrites, and there is no sincerity in them. They have no integrity. And so the hypocrite, they disbelieve any emotions by other people. In other words, they perceive everybody as lying and ignorant. But then that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy of evil by itself, as opposed to a person who at least can use his better judgment to make a decision and see the overall structure of that individual to make a final analysis on that subject. But they would automatically disassociate themselves from you, so they'll classify you as evil and them as good, even though they're the cynical. They're the bad person with the bad perception, with the bad understanding. But now everybody else is bad. So that's how these people end up having beliefs that is self-destructive. And a lot of people like using these people and would promote them because they follow the same negative plan as other people, which then if they ask them to do something negative, they'll be happy to do it or lustful to do it, as opposed to a person who will, if you who has character and who is a person of their word and has integrity, would then not follow an instruction that's only headed to hurt others. Sometimes these negative individuals will be deliberately sending confusing messages, contradicting messages. You can see that sometimes in when you Google something. Let's say this is bad, but at the end, the next two sentences will be like, or the next website will say it's good. And then you go to the next website and say it's bad. Something's bad for you. The other one, no, it's good. The other one's bad. No, it's bad. You know what's good and what's bad. Of course, you got to read and see exactly what they're saying all together, but there's still confusion. And the confusion is not even in clarity. They may say one thing now and 2 minutes later confuse themselves or contradict themselves. Then a few minutes later contradict the contradiction. Then a few minutes. So you could speak to somebody for 20 minutes and have 5 or 10 contradictions. And by the time you walk away, well, did he say this was bad or that was bad? Or did she say, am I supposed to do this first or that first? Let's screw up the whole procedure. And some of them will go into mumbling. And then when you try to straighten it out, you'll be like, okay, so what you're saying is this, this, and this. And you had repeated verbatim every word they just had said. And I said, so you're saying this, this, and this. And what they would do is say, no, I didn't say that. And then they'll say something else. So they're disagreeing. And they're arguing to be disagreeing to be disagreeable. Contradict you just to be contradicting. There's no truth in them. And they don't want to follow, when you say, well, did you say this? They don't want to agree thinking that, oh, this person just wants me to agree with them. But the truth of the matter is that when you keep confusing, you had said nothing, and or like if you're mumbling, and that's how bad they can just start mumbling, and you'll be like, "What did you say?" And